This is Gavin Knight from tokenmarket.net. We provide professional services for crowd sales and more, and you can always get in touch with us at info@tokenmarket.net. Now, a lot of what we do is research past sales, and Ethereum is one of the biggest, and it's still going. So I wanted to go over kind of a crowd sale life cycle for Ethereum. Now, let's look at the original pitch. The pitch was, what can't it do? I mean, they listed almost everything. We can decentralize everything. And that's really hard to do. And we're still not seeing a big uptake of dApps. But there are things on the horizon that may fulfill some of these things. So the language was a little bit misleading. But the vision was there. And that's sort of what the people involved believed. And the original founders, there was four: Anthony Delorio, Charles Hoskinson, Mihai Lisi, and Vitalik Buterin. All of them are talented, but Vitalik became the spokesperson. He went to conferences, he met with people in person, and he spent a lot of time on the ground just getting that buzz. And that's important, I think, for projects that want to do really successful sales, is to get out there and meet people in person. Now, of course, he was young, so running such a big operation, such a big sale, is hard for someone that doesn't have life experiences. Now, Gavin Wood was the technical addition to the team. He wrote the yellow paper, he oversaw development, and he basically pushed the project forward and made it a reality. So without Gavin Wood, I'm not sure who would have fulfilled that role. Now, before the sale, there was a lot of PR and community blitz. It was featured in Bloomberg, it was featured in Al Jazeera, a lot of big journals. There was initial meetups, there was hubs where people could hack together. There was a big conference presence. They went and met with people directly. And one really important part was Stephen Tuwal's involvement. He was the chief communications officer, and he created a YouTube presence and a professionality on the website that really pushed Ethereum forward and made it seem like more than just another one of these altcoins, another ICO. Whether or not it was, they really spent time on that. And I think professionalism and presentation is important in anything. But, people can be misled. Now, the website presentation, as I mentioned, was very attractive, flashy. It had language like revolution, which basically means, huge change. This type of code is going to change everything. And it may be the vision, it may be what they believed. But sometimes if you overpromise and underdeliver, people get frustrated. Regardless, they moved through. Vitalik released the white paper in 2013. He formally announced it at a conference in 2014. Gavin Wood created the yellow paper, so the technical specifications, and they had the sale. 31,591 Bitcoins raised. It's about $18.4 million at the time, 60 million Ether. Now, the funds were kept in Bitcoin. That was a problem. The price was dropping. Token market, one of the things we do is capital conversions. And that's a lot of money, and that's hard to convert. So it's possible they lost upward of $5 million just by holding Bitcoin and paying their employees with it. Then the final price of the sale was 0.000525. I mean, looking at the market price, it's still a great return. A lot of speculators, people that took longs, bought in late, bought the rallies, they've been hurt. They've had trouble trading. But actually, considering the initial ICO sale, this is done really well. So that's something that's missed. So let's look at some of the pros and cons. Obviously, it was an extremely successful sale. The Ethereum was successfully distributed, minimal exchange delay. The price held fairly well. And they had a well-thought-out legal status. They were a Swiss entity, and they had extensive agreements. So they never ran into any legal issues, which you would expect from something so big. Cons: the foundation lacked some organization. They had to set up a foundation for all of the funds, and that was a little bit difficult. They didn't have that all spelled out. The team grew fast. Obviously, with a lot of money, you want to hire a lot of people, and that becomes difficult to manage. Capital conversion was delayed, as I mentioned, so there was some loss in dollars, not in Bitcoin. Overpromised, underdelivered. Well, they did promise a lot of big things, and they didn't come to reality. Slow movement on UI. So for a long time, Ethereum sort of had to be interacted with on the command line. You had to be a developer. And the UI really took a long time to develop. The slow uptake of dApps, we still see this. There aren't a lot of projects running on Ethereum that people use. And they've delayed releases. So let's look at some of the releases. They had the Frontier release, which was what they consider the most basic implementation of Ethereum. Now, obviously, they've had a lot of changes in between, but they haven't gotten to Homestead. And they continually promise Homestead, to be out relatively soon. This is an issue. Sometimes as a developer, it's better not to set a timeline. But hopefully Homestead does come through. And then there's Metropolis, which is slated to bring Ethereum to the masses. So they don't even consider Ethereum ready for the masses yet. And Serenity, which is an implementation of proof of stake, which should speed up transactions and allow a number of other things with the network. So it's been a little frustrating for people that are more into the development, that there's delays and promises that aren't met. Now, the UI releases is a big deal. A lot of people that bought Ethereum aren't developers. They don't know how to code. They don't know the command line. They want to use a nice UI. Well, on the left there at the top, you can see the original design for the UI. It looks great. It's nice. It has all of these different things. Well, on the right is what the actual Ethereum wallet looks like, and it's not the same. Now, the mock-up on the left was made by a designer, but it wasn't actually developed. So that's what was promised. Now, at the bottom is a wallet called Parity, developed by Ethcore. Ethcore is a for-profit entity that has Gavin Wood and I think Vitalik that is starting to push out things. And sometimes you need a for-profit entity to push out such releases. But I do have some faith that Parity and some of the other systems that Ethcore is working on may actually end up fulfilling the void that people feel. So let's look at 2017. 2017 has been a test of strength for Ethereum. Many good and bad decisions, but it's still there, it's still going. So initially, there was a number of spam attacks, and this happened all the way through the initial launch of Ethereum. And then there was the DAO hack. So the DAO was this huge project that raised hundreds of millions of dollars, and then somebody figured out how to manipulate the code and steal the funds. And Ethereum reacted very quickly, was unable to get consensus from miners, but returned the funds. And what that cost was a split, and it created Ethereum Classic. Now you had two camps, and a lot of miners felt like they weren't listened to. And so it's showing how consensus can be really critical to a project. And even when there's a hack or an issue, you really need to take the time. And they felt like they didn't have it, so they made a decision in a centralized fashion. And unfortunately, it created two coins. But Ethereum still exists. Further attacks required additional forks. There were spam attacks and node attacks and things like that. Hackers gonna hack. Well, there's a saying in Silicon Valley that there's two types of companies. Companies that have been hacked and companies that haven't been hacked yet. So Ethereum is smart contract code. It's complex. It's not completely tested. And hackers are gonna find ways to find exploits. And there's all different types of stuff that's been happening. People have their funds stolen and this and that. So you have to expect that. You have to expect that hackers are going to hack. No matter what, if there's an option, if there's an opportunity, someone will fulfill that void. So it's not just Ethereum. It's everything. It's emails, it's Bitfinex. So we just need to understand that mentality. So don't count Ethereum out yet. There's Ethcore, which is working on Polkadot, which is sort of like a sidechains implementation for Ethereum. Parity, which I showed the wallet. There's Consensus, which is a huge organization that is sponsoring a lot of development in Ethereum. Akasha, which I mentioned, Golem, Ikonomi. There's been some recent sales that have been successful. So the point being is Ethereum has never given up. It has not stopped. It is still above sale price. It it has had a lot of road bumps. There's been a lot of hard times, but the core people are still there. And I think the point of this is you really need to get a core group excited. You need to build a community, and you need to build people that really have a vested interest in the success of Ethereum. Ether was never a currency. It's a gas. It's something to create dApps. So my takeaway is Ethereum built a strong community. They spent a lot of money on that. They funded teams. They funded dev grants. And they kept the process going. And the most important thing for a project like this is that it continues despite problems, despite things that we don't expect. So thanks for watching. I hope you don't feel like I'm bashing Ethereum. I'm merely stating what I see in terms of their crowd sale. Sometimes people overpromise and underdeliver, but they're continuing to move forward. And in development, something that seems like it could take 1 week, could take 6 months, you don't know. I have hopes for Ethereum. I think projects will come out that people will start to use, day to day maybe. But I'm kind of in a wait-and-see mode. So I think they had a successful sale. They're still here. They're still working on it. They had a large amount of money. They invested in community. And that's the best that they could do. So once again, thanks for watching. Visit tokenmarket.net for more information, or you can always email us info@tokenmarket.net. I'd love to hear about your project. I'd love to hear about what you think about this research and how it kind of relates to what we can do better in this industry.